Chapter 9. I stood before the stove frying bacon when Roberto came up and hugged me from behind.
Hey, sexy.
Hey, yourself. My mind flashed back to earlier, and I got a bit tingly. Roberto's mind must have been on the same track, because his hands skimmed down my front and began to creep up under my shirt. Spinning away from him, I held out the cooking fork. Back off, Buster. I have a weapon and I'm not afraid to use it. Roberto snatched it right out of my hand.
Where's your weapon now?
He reached for me, and I sprinted to put the table between us. Stop! No touching allowed, I commanded.
Says who?
Says me, I responded with a laugh. He measured the table and the distance with his eyes, calculating his next move. I could see it in his face and braced myself to make a run for it. Then a crafty expression crossed his face.
Your bacon's burning.
I glanced at the stove, torn. Continue the game or save the food? The meat won. I liked bacon too much to let it burn. Then I'd have to throw out the grease and wash the pan to keep the rest from having the same awful taste. Move and I'll get it. He held his hands high in a surrender motion and backed away from the table. Eyeing him warily, I edged around the opposite end and dashed to the stove. Roberto caught me and twirled me around, pinning me against the cabinet.
Gotcha!
The bacon, I reminded him, laughing as I wrapped my arms around his neck. Roberto moved the pan and turned off the burner before laying a kiss on me that had my knees buckling.
Get a room.
We broke apart to see Justin standing in the doorway, smiling.
But wait until after breakfast is done. I'm starving.
He finished. Roberto quirked an eyebrow at me. Don't look at me. He's your kid.
Yeah, but what's Dad's is yours once you two marry.
Justin said, sounding more like the teenager I knew and loved.
He's got a point.
Roberto agreed. Rolling my eyes, I said, Gee, thanks. As if one Ortega male isn't enough to handle.
Lucky you. You get 4.
Roberto stated with a grin. I groaned and planted my palms flat against his firm chest, putting muscle behind it as I shoved. Roberto moved, but only because he wanted to. I'm trying to cook here, I reminded as I set the pan on the element and turned on the heat.
And I'm ready to eat,
Justin added as he sprawled at the table. Roberto poured a cup of coffee and leaned against the counter, cradling it.
Need help?
No, I've got it. He gazed at me over the rim of his drink, and the look in his eyes was new. It was the possessive glint of a man who knew he'd satisfied his woman and fully intended to do so again. I could feel myself flushing under his intense stare and turned back to the stove. How's school going? I asked Justin. He'd recently enrolled in a technical course at their junior college, studying to be an electrician.
Good. Not sure what I'll do now, though.
I noticed Justin carefully avoided looking at his father.
Attend school here. The community college has an excellent study and internship program. I've already checked. Your credits will transfer, and you can pick up in the fall where you left off. While you're waiting for the semester to begin, you work.
Roberto stated, as though the matter was decided. Justin didn't respond, simply hunched over in his chair and watched his fingers drum on the table. Roberto's mouth tightened. Tension was thick in the room. My heart went out to both of them, even as I wanted to smack Justin upside the head. Couldn't he see that his dad was as much the victim in this as he? Despite my sharp words earlier, I really did understand Justin's angst. With a few angry words, his identity and sense of self had been ripped from him. Like a child who discovers late in life he'd been adopted, Justin had to be feeling like his whole life was a lie. He was floundering, off-balanced, confused. But as much as I empathized, his actions were hurting Roberto, the man I loved. That I couldn't tolerate. To break the silence, I asked, "How many pancakes, Justin?"
3.
Roberto?
The same.
I quickly served up the plates, and after preparing my own, joined them at the table. We ate in silence, the men not having much, or maybe too much, to say. Both males requested seconds, which I was happy to provide. "Okay, I cooked, so you guys have kitchen detail while I pack." Roberto's head rose to pin me with a stare.
Going somewhere?
There was a hint of a challenge in his tone. My eyebrows arched. "Home? The place where I live? Any of this ringing any bells?" He scowled.
You're leaving now? I just got back.
"Our agreement was for me to stay here while you were gone. You've returned. That means it's time for me to leave," I reminded him. Roberto rose from the table and came to stand in front of me. I stepped back and leaned against the sink, but he crowded in closer.
Spend the day with me.
"I have things to do. I've been gone from my house all week," I explained.
So one more day won't hurt anything.
He caged me in and whispered into my ear,
I missed you. Don't leave.
This time, it was a request, followed by him nibbling on my throat. "Roberto." His name was a growled admission of defeat as I tilted my head, giving him better access.
Thank you.
He solemnly said, gracious in victory. The next kiss showed how much he appreciated my giving in to him.
So, since we're like family and all, can I stay with you, Nina?
Justin asked. Roberto froze. Underneath my hands, the muscles of his back tightened into ropes. Immediately, I began stroking him in a soothing motion as I gazed into his eyes. There was anger, frustration, and a hint of pain in them. I glanced over his shoulder at Justin. One look was enough to tell me he wasn't trying to be problematic. He was nervous, edgy. It was clear he desperately needed some space and time to come to grips with what happened.
I don't think...
Roberto began. I dug my nails into Roberto's waist as I spoke over him. Your dad and I will discuss it. If he says it's okay, I don't have a problem with it. Roberto's mouth firmed and his eyes narrowed, but he didn't contradict me. Why don't you clean up while we talk? I suggested to Justin. As he obediently rose from his seat, I told Roberto, let's go into the bedroom. I can gather my things while we talk. Roberto stepped back, indicating I should lead the way. The minute the door closed behind us, I began pleading Justin's case. Did you see his face, Roberto? He just wants a little time to deal with everything that's happened. He leaned against the door and crossed his arms over his chest.
You were looking forward to a summer with no kids. Justin's my problem.
But after we're married, he'll be mine, too. I really don't mind him being there. He's a lot older than the twins, so I doubt he'll be much trouble. He definitely shouldn't be as much work, and he'll make a good chaperone, I added, thinking about earlier. At my words, Roberto reached down and locked the door. As he stepped forward, I retreated until my legs hit the bed, and then began scooting sideways. Whatever you're planning, no, I said, shaking my head to show I meant business.
Who says I'm planning anything?
He asked, still matching me step for step. That look in your eyes? I glanced away. Another few inches and I would clear the bed. In that moment of inattention, Roberto grabbed me and tossed me onto the bed, coming down on top to pin me to the mattress. He had my legs spread and hands over my head in a matter of seconds.
I need to see some appreciation.
He growled.
If you want my son, it's going to cost you.
Really? I purred. Wrapping my legs around his, I arched my mound against the part of his anatomy rapidly hardening. What did you have in mind? He hissed and ground into me. His mouth slammed down on mine in a kiss nowhere near gentle, but I didn't need gentleness. It was fiery hot and demanding, just like Roberto at the moment. Seems my man was still burning from our love play earlier this morning. He shoved my shirt out of the way and undid my bra so he could get at my breasts. This was it, I thought, as the fire of his desire consumed me. We were going to make love, no more holding back. It was wrong, but I accepted the inevitableness of it. God would just have to forgive us. I surrendered completely. Husky words of encouragement and desire fell from my lips, urging him on. I arched and rotated my hips, searching for that perfect angle. There. He hit a spot that made me whimper. Recognizing the cry for what it was, he wrote it. I tugged on my arms, needed to touch him, wanting him in me. "Baby, please." The cry was a bit desperate. Roberto's mouth left my breasts to return to mine. His kiss muffled my cries and smothered his groans. I made another attempt to free myself, but he kept me pinned. It was slightly juvenile the way we humped and bumped against each other like teenagers in the back seat of Daddy's car. But there was nothing childish about the pleasure coursing through my body. Pleasure I didn't mind Roberto seeing as I gazed up at him through half-slitted eyes, his face inches away, the harsh pants of our breaths mingling. I was so close. My hands clenched and movements became more frantic. My neck arched and mouth opened. Roberto slapped a palm over my lips right before I shrieked. He buried his face in the mattress as his body stiffened and then bucked. Once, twice, 3 times. As we lay entwined, our bodies cooling, one thought came to mind. We can't keep doing this. One day, we were going to cross the line. It was only a miracle, or maybe God's grace. Today wasn't that day. I told Roberto as much.
Now that we've both taken the edge off, it will be much easier to stand strong against temptation,
he assured. I was of the opposite opinion. Now I knew how good it could be. We'd, or at least I, would want more. There was no way we would last another 10 months. If they burn, let them marry. The scripture floated across my mind. I quietly began making preparations to marry sooner than either of us had intended. It was the only thing I could think of to do. I made a mental note to check out the high schools in Roberto's neighborhood on Monday. It would be much better for the twins to begin the school year at a new school than to change mid-year. My younger sister would love to rent my house. Whether I'd want her in it was a different story. I didn't think she'd trash the place, but being kin, she might not be as reliable paying me as a stranger would.
Are you sure you want Justine with you?
His question pulled me from my premarital to-do list. Only if you're all right with it. I really do think he needs a little bit of time to adjust. I marveled at the irony of it. Here we were, having our first private consultation on how to handle the kids, and the child in question wasn't mine. Roberto sighed.
He can go. But the rules of this house still apply. His curfew is 11. He needs to get a job. He has to keep up the yard and do his share of the housework.
I rolled until I was on top of Roberto and sat up, straddling his pelvis. As our crotches settled and fused together, I could feel his dampness and mine. Anything else, Dad? He brought his hands up to play with my nipples.
Yeah. He has to go to church.
I whipped the top over my head and tossed my bra to the side. Now that I'd decided we were marrying and soon, I was willing to be a little less cautious. Don't move, I commanded, as I scooted backwards until my feet hit the floor. One shove and the shorts were off. I debated on removing my underwear as well, but my conscience wouldn't let me go that far. As I crawled up his body, Roberto spoke.
Sweetheart, as much as I'm enjoying this, what are you doing?
With an impish grin on my face, I replied, Playing with matches. He groaned.
Oh, I've created a monster.
Nah, it was always there. You just loosened some of the chains that held it confined, I confided. On a more serious note, I continued. You gave me so much satisfaction earlier. Trust me to do the same for you. I braced over him on all fours, breasts hanging down over his chest. Roberto shook his head.
It's me I don't trust, Nina. If you touch me, I won't stop till I have you, totally and completely.
Suddenly, this was about more than sex, more than lust. I sat on his muscular thighs with my hands resting on my legs. I need for you to let me give you pleasure, to trust me to stay in control for both of us and not let things get out of hand. The same way I trusted you. I want to touch you, love you, just for a little while. More than that, I needed Roberto to give up control to me. My previous lovers came in one of two flavors. Those that dominated every aspect of our lovemaking, and those that everything was about them. The former did it not because they were concerned about pleasing me, but to prove how good a lover they were. The latter only knew how to take and didn't concern themselves with giving. Roberto, with his strong personality, had proven he was good at taking control and giving pleasure. But could he receive? Why wouldn't he let me reciprocate? He studied me, and I tried to let my expression show how important this was to me. He opened his mouth. A knock sounded at the bedroom door.
I'm finished with the kitchen,
Justin called out. We'll be out in a minute, I answered, already in motion. Roberto caught me in a firm grip by the waist.
Where are you going?
We're going out to talk with Justin. He shook his head.
You asked something of me. You can't just leave without giving me a chance to respond.
I grabbed hold of his wrists and tried to pry his hands loose. Justin's waiting, I reminded him, and probably wondering just what we're doing in here.
He can continue to wait. This is more important.
I disagreed. God only knew the impression we were giving Justin. We weren't exactly setting the best example of Christian behavior here. How could we talk to him about abstinence and waiting until after marriage when we gave every appearance of doing the opposite? Again, a scripture floated through my mind. This one admonishing Christians to abstain from even the appearance of evil. As leaders in the church, and youth workers in particular, Roberto and I had to be very careful of how we lived, And it began at home with our families.
Nina.
Roberto squeezed my waist, getting my attention. I hadn't realized I'd been staring off into space until he called my name. Once he saw I was focused on him, he continued.
I want you, baby. You don't know how much I want your hands and mouth on me. I want to bury myself in your sex. Don't ever think I don't. You don't realize the amount of control it's taking for me to sit here with you like this and not take it further.
He palmed my breasts, weighing and measuring them.
If you touch my cock, I'm not going to stop until I have all of you. That's my weakness, my limitation. I can touch you, see you, and maintain control of myself as long as I'm covered. But the minute you do the same to me, the moment my sex is touched skin to skin.
He shrugged.
You are my weakness. No one affects me like you do. So know this, I'll let you be in control. You can play with me, explore my body, and touch me any way you desire. After the wedding. I promise.
I leaned forward and wrapped my arms around his neck. Thank you for explaining. It made sense to me, and part of me was glad one of us was showing wisdom. The truth was, if I got my hands or any other part of my anatomy on Roberto's naked sex, I wasn't sure I'd be able to stop either. In the heat of passion, we're prone to lie to ourselves about what we can handle. After Ronald, I should know that better than anyone. He caressed my face while his gaze searched mine.
You understand?
I rubbed my face against his hands. I'm disappointed, but yeah, I understand.
Good. Now, let's go handle Justin before he begins to think the worst.
I shifted to the side. You go ahead. I need to change panties. These are damp. Roberto reached out and cupped me between the legs.
I like how wet you get.
I don't. It's embarrassing. Even now I could feel more fluid leaking out to coat the cotton lining as he stroked me.
It's a blessing.
He corrected.
It's physical proof of your desire. Not only that, it's the way God designed you. Be grateful.
His fingers eased under the elastic to dip inside my sheath. I pushed it away. Your son is waiting, I reminded. We don't have time to play. He sighed and rose from the bed.
You sure you don't mind him staying with you?
I shrugged, not even upset he asked a third time. As Justin said, he's family. In my mind, that settled the issue. Roberto nodded.
Get changed. We'll talk to him together. Let down a few ground rules.
I climbed off the bed, collected my underwear, and went into the restroom. Roberto waited until I was inside to leave the bedroom, just in case Justin was lingering outside the door.